Hello, everyone. We are here with our next stranger. Could you tell us your name and a little about yourself?
My name is Kody Crumpton. I am 21 years old, believe it or not, from Alabama,
I think you're our first
and
person from Alabama.
I'm a pleasure to have always been the first.
So what is your story? What do you like to do? What are some
Well,
yeah.
currently, I have recently started my own YouTube channel as sort of a hobby. It's a gaming channel, and I currently work a job in design engineering.
Wow. Design engineer. Dude, that's so what is design engineering? How is
So design engineering is where people like myself will take software such as AutoCAD or Inventor or Revit, and we will design technical drawings for different big companies. So anything that you ever bought, anything that you've ever seen built, somebody's had to draw it, and that's what I do. I draw the blueprints. And this one is going to Douglas over in Colorado, I believe, um, for Canon Associates. They are, if I'm understanding this
you
correctly,
don't
they
you
will
don't have
manufacture military weapons.
Oh my god, dude, we're getting the inside scoop of like military
Yeah,
design right now.
yeah. And the best part, I think, about design engineering is the fact that I am not stuck on just one thing. Like that, this is for buildings, this is for houses. But if I wanted to go into designing computers, I could go straight into that. No problem. It's just a complete 180. It's no problem at all because it's the same software. I just got to know how to draw it.
Dude, how, like, have you always been interested in kind of like geometry and
Oh, yes.
yeah?
I've always had a good knack for shapes and putting things together and building things. And this was a way that I could do that without sweating my tail off out in the sun at 1,000-degree weather.
So it sounds very similar to architecture. Did you
it,
is
it is it is very similar, although what I do is a lot more detail oriented than what an architect does. So an architect will go to your house and say, okay, you'll probably like this arched way entrance, or you might like these spiral staircases. Well, I've got to figure out how to make that work. I've got to figure out, okay, to make this archway happen, you've got to nail up a board here and here. You got to put in these caulk joints around this area, so on and so forth. And
you're
so
so that's so cool.
yeah, it's a very cool field to go into. And best part of all, it's a 1.5 year degree.
Wow. So
So it's
an associate's degree.
yeah, it's an associate's degree. And average payout is about $55,000 a year, roughly. So it's there's no reason not to look into it.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect job for like COVID days too, right? Because you're doing
Yeah,
this
I
all at
can
home.
I can work at home. I'm this computer I'm talking to you on. I do all my work on it, and it's just I got the software, and it runs everything. It's not even a PC; it's a laptop, and it can do it.
Wow. So like yeah, I have a lot of questions.
I just beat you with a bunch of knowledge.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot of information to process, and I wonder. I just I think I'm interested in hearing about your experience living in Alabama
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah, just like have you lived there your whole life and
yeah.
um
I was born here, and I was raised here. I don't live in any big city. I live in the middle of nowhere in a place called Gewen. I'll type it in the chat so people know how to spell it.
you're very open. You're I think one of the most open people that I've talked to on the channel, and I really appreciate that. You know, you got a very open heart. It's really cool
I
to
mean, it's makes for good conversation. I mean,
yeah
we're all about cultural exchange here.
yeah.
So out here, it's all just very small town people, and just it almost sometimes feels very disconnected from the rest of the world, because it is so small. I mean, we have over here, I live close to a place called Twin, and they have a population of 400 people. So it's
Gosh, do
a
you like
very
it?
small area.
Do you enjoy being out there?
It's very peaceful, but the issue I have is there's not a big social life here. If I want to go somewhere and visit to, like, let's say I want to go to the movies, I'd have to drive an hour and a half away in order to get there. All right. If I wanted to, go to a bar, all right, I'd have to drive an hour and a half away to get there. The closest cities is in Tupelo, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and those are far away. So any chances of that, again, just got to drive everywhere. So this is a great spot to retire to. It's a great spot to, like, raise your kids away from all of the problems that a big city has. But, it's pretty boring.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of siblings?
I have one sister.
Hmm. Does she
And
live close to you?
she's very much younger than me.
Oh,
I unfortunately still live with my parents, but it's because the recession hit. I can't find a decent enough job to be able to move out. So
there are a
that's
lot
really hit
of
hard.
yeah, there are a lot of I mean, a lot of people in our generation have been hit with many factors that have just made it very difficult for anyone to move out of home, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean the economy crashing is at the big stump.
Yeah.
But it's not from a lack of trying. I've been on, I want to say, 4 or 5 interviews since a couple months ago. I've had about that many interviews. So it's not for a lack of trying. It's just a lack of hiring.
Yeah, really. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're living in crazy
Yeah,
times, you know?
yeah.
Um,
It's a what a time to be alive.
I mean, yeah, we're living through a major part of history right now, and like in Alabama, there's or at least the general like kind of idea of what Alabama is like, people running around flying the Confederate flag
Yeah.
and like a highly racist kind of state,
Hmm.
and but also like a deeply Southern comfort, like hometown, like
Yeah. And
warmth. Like what are your thoughts
yeah,
of that?
there's so I will say Alabama is definitely the place to go if you want to know what Southern hospitality is like. And if you want to enter a place and you're given coffee with milk and biscuits with cornbread, that whole works. You come somewhere in Alabama and visit some nice people. And while it is unfortunately true about all of the Confederate flag waving and racism, most of that is actually in the older generation. So
Mm,
people who are about, like, I would say maybe 30 or 35 plus, that's where most of that exists. And the younger generation, such as myself and people about my age, have moved completely on from that. But,
wow.
people 35 plus obviously ain't dead yet, so they
What do you
so
think it
that's
is that why do you think it is that like people under 30 in
well,
at least where you are, like why have you guys moved on from that?
it's I think it's mostly to do with social media and the news, because back before all that, people were very disconnected. I mean, even back in the 90s, that's when the internet first came out. And in this area of Alabama, some people are just now getting internet for the first time in their lives. So, um, and that might seem wild to a lot of people, but that's reality for us. So disconnection and alienation, obviously, a bunch of white people who are disconnected from the rest of the world is going to think something negative about someone they've never met. And that's just the way it is and the way it will always be. But because there's so much connection now, people are meeting people. People are talking to people of different races, of different cultures, and our blinded eyes are now able to see. So we're
Yeah.
all moving on from that.
Yeah. I think that, dude, I think, yeah.
And that's for all southern states. I mean, Florida had done it a lot earlier than the rest of us, but that's because they got Disney World, Miami, the beaches. Alabama, we have nothing. We have we have we have NASA in Huntsville, and we have the University of Alabama and Auburn, but that's it. That's nothing compared to what many other states do have. Like
what,
Texas, they have Texas, and
why do you think it is that Alabama doesn't really have, like, wh- why do you think it is that
well,
Alabama only has that stuff?
well, I have a feeling, and this is just entirely opinionated. This is what I think. This may not be true, or it could be completely true. Alabama has had some very small-minded people in office. If I'm not mistaken, our past three governors before Kay Ivey is currently in prison. So we've had a bad run of politics, and hence has halted a lot of our growth. I mean, gambling is illegal in Alabama in all forms. Makes no difference. Those little cards that you scratch off in a gas station, illegal. That's
Wow.
not allowed.
Had no idea.
Yeah. And there's still plenty of places in Alabama where even alcohol is illegal, like the Prohibition days. We have the wet dry laws. If I was to go to another town that's dry with beer in the back seat, I could get arrested.
That's crazy. That's
So
nuts.
there's a lot of, because, and I feel like it's that Alabama is stuck in the past and moving so slowly in comparison to everyone else has kind of prevented our growth and prevented us from being able to keep up with everyone, I should say. And Mississippi has a lot of the same problems.
So,
So,
like, what do you, what, so, this is fascinating. Like, do you, like, looking at the state of kind of our country right now, and,
yes,
like, what, how do you see our country, like, moving forward, or where do you think we are right now in the state of our country, and what do you think that we as a country need to do to improve ourselves?
I feel like one thing that we need to greatly improve on is, and this might just be me in Alabama seeing it so often, is the racism. That needs to end altogether because I it took a little bit of work to get me here, but I am to a point where if somebody walks in, I just about cannot tell you what color they are because I will completely ignore that. So that when somebody comes in, it's not, oh, they are a white person, they're a black person, they're a person. And that I feel like that's just the big base. We need to get along with each other. And that's just, it's kind of a meme at this point. Like, why don't we all just get along,
Yeah, yeah, really.
wishing it. Unfortunately, wishing upon a star for people to be better is just not going to work. But I feel like that's where our deepest issue is our inability to get along.
Mm, mm.
And I guess that's all I know to
Yeah,
say to that.
that's, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
As I feel
Yeah,
like once we get to a point where we can accept that we are all citizens of the United States and that we all can work together and improve our country to make it a place that's worth coming to. Because, there's a YouTuber that I used to watch. I heard him on a live stream one time saying that he's considered coming to America many a times, but he's been too scared because he's a black guy and he's from England. And he said, I'm too afraid because I'm a black guy and I'm afraid I'm going to get abused if I go over there. And that's just terrible that we have that on us. But
yes, especially
and
now more than ever, right?
yeah, especially after the George Floyd incident, that's really amped it all up. but we can use this tragedy as a way to improve. And
Now you seem like a very like self-aware and self-conscious human being. Thank God.
I try to be.
Yeah, it's awesome to to be talking to you. Do you feel like you're an outlier, like in your experience as an Alabaman? Um, like where do you how do you think that your experience is similar to many, and in what ways do you think that your experience as an Alabaman is different from others?
Like how do you mean?
Like I'm wondering, like, well, I guess this is kind of coming in. My bias coming in is like, I wonder to what extent people in Alabama are like more conservative or more are. Do you think that Alabamans are open minded people generally?
No, I do
Okay.
not. I do
I hate
not
to ask
think
that
that
question
Alabama.
because yeah.
I understand. I understand. But Alabamans, most of the time, are not open minded people. And it's a culture thing. Our Southern pride has a hold of a lot of people a bit too hard. I mean, there's people that it's so hard that they will completely refuse to wear masks in public. They'll completely refuse to accept new ideas into their life. And, that's just once again the slow progression
Mm.
of Alabama in comparison to everybody else. Because most of the time, we are so close minded. And I, myself included, I'm not going to exclude myself from that group, but I do try to work on it more than others.
It seems like
So,
you have a head start, a big head start. Like are like could I ask you like what your parents' background is, or are
oh
they
yeah, I could tell you that.
yeah.
So my dad has lived in Alabama his whole life, and he's always lived in poverty pretty much up until his later 30s. Well, my mom is from California. She was born in Sacramento and moved around till she ended up in Great Big Ewan.
Wow.
And
What an
her
adventure.
her life story would really need its own entire video. So long story short, she ended up in Alabama. Well, my parents made the oh so common mistake of having me too early. My mom was 20 years old when she gave birth to me, and she was still in college, and my dad had no job. He was chopping firewood to sell to a local barbecue company. And I grew up in a trailer on family land for the first 7 years of my life. Well, my dad finally decided to start a fence company, and that really got us out of the trailer and into a house that was owned by us and not on family land. And well, when I was 11 years old, my dad was caught cheating on my mom, and they had a divorce. It was around this time that my sister was born, pretty close to this era. Well, then after a while, we of very tense relations, because me and my sister was going to our dads, then back to our moms, and all this. After a very tense and rough adjustment period, it finally just came part of life. And now my dad still has his fencing business. It's been relatively successful. I've worked in it. That's where I learned how to build things and how to create things. It's where I've done the most traveling in my life. I've been on skyscrapers in Nashville. I've been in swamp holes in Louisiana. I've been all the way from here to Iowa, not even an exaggeration. Um, and then my mom, she taught me like all of my home needs, like how to cook and how to do. She remarried. My dad did not. Um, and the rest is right now.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. It seems like your parents care about you very much though. Like
Yeah, I will say I am a very I am very lucky to have parents, even though they divorced, that they still put us first. I'm very lucky. I know that that is a luxury that not many American people with divorced parents have. Many end up with deadbeat fathers and mothers, and end up living very bad lives. I can count myself very lucky for that.
When you say that they put you first, like to you specifically, what do you think they did that really shows that?
Well, there's one particular incident where I was in a car wreck, my fault. I
Hey,
had, I was very stupid. And this is a very embarrassing story, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was driving down the road leaving from the dual enrollment class when I decided to go 60 miles per hour and pull the e-brake to see what happened.
oh,
That's well, my truck did about like this and went down off a ditch and halfway into a lake. So,
wow. Hey, were you okay?
and I was fine. I was completely unharmed somehow.
Wow.
This was one of the few moments where I believed that there was a divine intervention that saved me, because there was trees over here, there was a huge drop off over here, and I didn't get stuck in the lake, and my truck didn't even break. I pulled it out of the lake and it still crunk up just fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was someone was watching me that day.
I guess you figured out what happened when you pulled the e-brake, right?
Yeah, I did. But the what really showed when they put us first is after that incident. At this point, there was about I was I want to say I was 17 at the time, so it was about 6 years into the divorce, and that was the first time in my life that I ever saw my mom and dad sit down at the same table and agree to put my safety first.
Oh, come on. Oh, don't you dare tell me that this.
I
Oh,
can hear
oh,
you. It
sorry.
froze up for a bit.
Yeah, I know. I was
It
nervous. I was
froze up
like, oh
for a
my
bit.
God, dude. If we get
Yeah, this would be
disconnect,
an
if
awful
we
time.
if we get disconnected, shoot me an email at my email that I put there. That's why I put it there.
All right, let
Just
me.
because, like, yeah,
I'm gonna copy it real quick and keep it on my clipboard. That just in case it
cool.
happens.
Yeah.
But did you get all that?
Yeah, that, so what the last little bit that I got was, that was the
So
first time that they sat down and determined that you guys were going to be first, that your safety was first.
yeah, and that was well. I mean, not that, but they was the first time I ever saw them sit down and put all their disagreements aside to like talk to me and go through that situation together. So you just have to meet them. They both were not made for each other. Absolutely not, because they are both hard headed and they both are uncompromising. So it's so when you
Except
have
for,
two people, so when
yeah,
you have two people that won't give up, that just is endless conflict constantly.
but
So
that
that
they
was
put that aside and for someone
yeah,
that they love, for their
yeah,
child, you know?
yeah.
See, that's
So
what we
that
need to
was
do in America. That's what we need to do
yeah,
in America, right?
yes, and I wish to teach that in if or when I become a parent. That's what I want to be for my children. You know.
That is so wise, Cody.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, really. Um, in your hometown, like the the school that you went to, right?
Yes,
Like your high school and
very
everything.
small.
Yeah, could you talk a little about that
Yeah.
experience?
So I was bullied in high school. All right. Um, because you may not know this because you can't tell, but I am one quarter Filipino. However, I was the only person at my school that was not 100% white. All right. So a
So there
lot
were
of
no
people,
black people. There were no black people either. Or
no, not for the longest. For the first, in fact, for the first several years of my life, I never even seen a black person. And there's actually a really funny story about when I first saw a black person. And I'll get back to the high school story in
okay,
a second, but this is hilarious. Um, I was going through my school at my elementary school, and I saw a black lady standing there. She's a big old black woman, and I mean she's the kind you could see her shaking her hips, going and and my naive, like little maybe 5, 6 year old brain looked at her dead in the eyes and said, "Oh my God, you are so dark." And
so innocent.
she,
That's innocence, you know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean that was so funny. And the next day, the school actually had a speech where they talked about how yes, there is black people, there's red people, there's yellow people, so on and so forth, talking about all these different races because we was all white at the school, and the school didn't realize that there's no black people here. So and it's not because black people didn't want to go; it's just there was no black people.
Wow. Interesting, right? Yeah.
So, throughout my high school, I did face a considerable amount of bullying because of my 1/4 Filipino, which is really petty. That's ridiculous. And which most of it did only consist of name throwing, but still, to a very young child, that means a lot.
Yeah, it's harassment, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's trauma, right?
yeah, it's not good for a young mind. But eventually, I got over it. I was able to tell the bullies back, and in one incident, I even got pushed too far, and I blacked out during a physical fight. But that was after that. It just sort of ended. Felt like, but probably because I blacked out.
How old were you when you got into that fight?
I
Was
don't
it
fully remember. I want to say I was 12 or 13,
okay? So middle
roughly.
school, I see.
Yeah, about middle school, about that time era. And the rest was just sort of, it was just sort of high school. I sit in class being quiet and I hear these people talking about their high school bull crap. I'm going to try to avoid swearing to keep your video monetized.
That's okay. That's okay. We're not there yet,
I,
but I
I,
appreciate that.
I cuss like a sailor, so I'm going to try to avoid that.
That's okay. You can just be yourself. Don't
Ah,
stress about it.
But so yeah, that was pretty much my high school life, and I don't talk to any of my high school friends anymore. I don't, because after high school we all just sort of went our own way.
Mm,
And after I graduated college, I got a group of college friends now that's really stuck with me,
mm.
and I really like them. And I mean, we just went on a trip recently, and we even stated we left friends and returned brothers.
Wow, that's great.
So
Yeah, dude. There's nothing better than like those lifelong friends that I mean, you
there
go
really
and
isn't. That
you go and
you can literally tell them you killed somebody, and they'll say, "All right, I'll find a bag of lime."
yeah, exactly. Yeah, those people that you can appreciate dark humor with, like those are
Yeah,
the ones that are really worth
I got
being
some
with.
ones that I love some dark humor.
Oh,
So,
well,
you care for a joke?
yeah, please.
All right, so Adolf Hitler. What a great way to start a joke.
So Adolf, yeah.
He said during one of his speeches, he said, "By the end of this war, I will have killed 6 million Jews and one clown." All right. And he left, and one of his generals said, "Sir, why are we killing the clown?" And he said, "See, nobody cares about the Jews."
Oh, oh man. Wow, that's good. That's a good one. You know what's really like serendipitous too is that actually like I used to be a professional clown in New York, which is
Really?
hilarious. Yeah,
Is that where you're from?
Oh, I'm from all over the place. I grew up in New Jersey, but was in New York
Okay.
for 5 years. Yeah, I was there for 5 years, and I clowned at like over 1,000 different birthday parties for kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. It was a
Hopefully
crazy.
not. Hopefully not my party because I'm horrified of clowns.
You know what? Like we always actually like we did. It was a strange thing because we didn't put on like face paint and anything. We just kind of dressed in like an obnoxious like multicolored outfit, and we did
Oh,
like
okay.
balloon animals and cotton can. It was great.
I could not be traumatized by that.
Yeah.
That
Dude, I used to do like this like boot camp for the kids. Like we would do like push-ups and jumping jacks and burpees, and the kids would just be so tired out. That was my favorite part of that job. Is like, but yeah, no, but
that
that
sounds
was
like a that
another
sounds like a
lifetime
fun,
ago.
interesting time.
Yeah, so like I moved to New York, and like after college, and I'm an actor. I'm a professional actor, and so to
Mhm.
make ends meet, that was my survival job, and
Yeah, acting's a hard business.
yeah, it's competitive, man. It's competitive, and it's hard to find paying work. Um,
Yeah. I
so
told you how small our town is, but ironically, we actually have a live theater. And we call it the Pastime Theater, and it's owned by a group, the theater board, that's actually a member of our government to keep the theater running because our theater was built in the early 1900s, and there's an area. It's actually a historical landmark that we still host live shows in it, but there's a historical landmark. There's a back area on the top of the balcony, and there used to be a sign there that said colored folk only.
wow.
And now that's where the fire exit is for the balcony. Because used to, they didn't even, where the fire exit is, that's how the colored folk had to enter the theater.
Isn't that crazy? Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So, and I actually done 9 shows in that theater.
also you're a theater guy too, huh?
Yeah, I actually considered doing acting. And before I got into design engineering, I understood acting was a hard business, and I'm not a fantastic actor. So I thought, okay, what if I could design the stages? What if I could build the sets for
Mm.
the people to act upon? I feel like that would be a lot more secure of a position than actor. So that was actually, but anyway, I digress.
No, no.
Um,
Well, you know what? Actually, I was going to say I'm really glad you're telling me this because these days, especially during the COVID time. Sorry, my contact lenses are killing me right now.
that's
Um,
fine. I don't understand the pain, but yeah.
but there's during these COVID times, voice acting is becoming like very easy to do.
Yeah.
Remotely and everything. And dude, you have such a good speaking voice. You could probably get some work as a voice actor.
Maybe. Who
And
knows?
yeah, and actually, I'm going to send you to this website. I don't know if it's .com.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
a
figure it out.
yeah, it's
I'm
a
a I'm a copy it. I'm gonna go ahead and open the site on a different tab so I don't lose it.
yeah,
But
like
paste, enter.
it's
Yeah, you got it right.
yeah, it's a like a New York workshop, workshops that are based in New York City. Um, and I
Okay.
think right now they're doing a lot of
Yeah, I
they're
see a
doing
whole tab here for voice acting.
like they're doing like remote classes, and it may be something for you to look into.
I'll
Like
definitely I'll
taking like a
definitely
beginner
look into
class.
it. I'll definitely look into it. What could have possibly hurt? I ain't
Exactly.
got much else better to do.
And yeah, and like, why not try? Yeah, that's so cool. And
but
yeah.
but anyway, in my acting career, well, career, I two of my favorite parts, or three of my favorite parts I ever played, was one for a character called Raynard Gism, and what his character was is he was a 40-year-old man, but he was bad at everything that he ever did except for food service. Like this man could outcook Emerald and all of I could outcook Gordon Ramsay. He was amazing at it. But he walked around everywhere wearing overalls, had a little Red Ryder wagon behind him, and his character was so wacky. It was just so fun to play as him. And another character I played as was Ham from The Happy Elf, and that was a second lead part that I played right there. And in fact, the lead part was Logan Howard, and if I'm not mistaken, he recently just assisted in making a movie with Christopher Walken.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, he's actually done that right now, just recently. So, and then my absolute favorite that I ever done was the Big Bad Wolf from Shrek. That was very fun.
Did you get a good costume for that one?
I did. I was covered in fur, and I had this old granny dress. And I had a line in a song. They tore my cotton granny dress and called me a hot and tranny mess. It was so much fun playing that part.
You know, I'll tell you as the Big Bad Wolf. It's something like, you know, I've been doing this for more than 10 years now. I'm so old. And and it's really like fun and refreshing seeing you like, you know, like talking about your line and just like people really do forget just how fun it is. You know, like when you're in it, it's a business. Like when we're in it right now, it's a business. Like you have to, but like you forget like the reason you get into it is because it's just like such a breath of fresh air, you know?
Yeah, you get to step out of reality for a moment. It's like when people get on the internet or play video games, you step out of reality for a moment and put yourself into another situation. You know, and with me, I could pull myself into a big bad wolf, or I could pull myself into being Cinderella's father, or I could be Grimsby from The Little Mermaid, which I was. The old butler that doesn't know how to smoke a pipe. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. If it is a business, and I did do some stage building on that. I built Rapunzel's watchtower.
That's great. You get to do the design. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't do a bit of painting because I'm not good at that, but putting it to wrapping the plywood around it and nailing everything in place, attaching the wheels to it is right up my alley. Cool. It was so much fun. And the people that own it actually came from New York out of Broadway and come down here as Casey and Josh Kaufman.
Wow.
And
huh.
So I don't know if you ever find those names anywhere, but you know they are on Broadway somewhere. I think there's in Cats or something like that.
Oh my gosh, one of the longest running shows on Broadway, Cats.
Yeah, that and Lion King and Phantom of the Opera.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, dude, you know. Yeah.
It's a tough and fun career.
It is. It is fun to. Right now, I'm in a place in my life where I'm discovering like other interests too, which is strange because I've always loved acting, and now I'm like, oh, you know, I like writing. I like. It's just confusing, man. Life is just life just continues to move forward, and it's important. It's important to just do what you really enjoy doing. You know, like
there's a old man that passed away recently to COVID, and he told me these words: when you quit learning things, you're dead. So
that's good. That's good. Yeah, well done.
So may he rest in peace. He's not learning anything anymore,
Yeah,
but
yeah. He's hanging out upstairs right now. Yeah, he's in the kitchen,
yeah,
just like
he's
sitting there.
yeah, he's but yeah, I always have. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't, but I have always been a fan of trying out new things. Recently, I found I love doing music. I found that I love writing without actually writing. I'm not good at sitting down and writing or typing it, but I can keep it all in here.
Mm.
Come up with some
There's a
heart-tugging stories.
there's a great there's a great book that I've been working on for a little bit. Actually,
The
I
Artist Way.
yeah, The Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. Really good book. It's yeah, I have this. I've been showing this book on a bunch of the my
Hey,
reflection videos that I do.
it's on the
Um,
it's the third most searched thing on Google.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
type in the writers and that the artists, and that's the third thing that comes up.
it's
So
yeah, it's really a wonderful, yeah, really
I'll
wonderful
definitely
book.
I'll definitely give it a read if I ever get the chance to get a copy, or maybe I'll finally start a uh, Audible account like I've been wanting to do for the past 7 years.
Uh, well, Cody, before I get going, is there anything that you'd
Okay.
want to is there anything that you'd want to talk about, or and any other thing that we haven't talked about that you think is important to mention to, I don't know, people who've never been to Alabama, or people who, I don't know, don't know
Well,
you.
despite the tensions Alabama has, it is a very beautiful state. It's a very beautiful place to come and visit. There's some amazing wildlife and natural life here to come and see. And I mean, some of it, like Dismal Canyon's, absolutely breathtaking. And, people need to visit Alabama, I think, more often because there's so much natural scenery and so much history that could be shown. And while I agree with the recent movement, you don't have to have the Confederate statues to still have your history. Because I mean, we've still got the fortresses, we've still got these old town halls here that's standing. One of the oldest jailhouses in America is in Alabama. The Houston jailhouse up in Chicago, Alabama. You might think that's a made up place, but it's not.
Wow. Oh,
So I just recommend to people, if you're able to, come see what Alabama has. Uh, We
yeah.
got we got fields, we got the university. So,
Well, I have to say before I get going that it's you are a wonderful spokesperson for your state. And yeah, and if there were more people like you in the world, I think this world would be a much more loving and respectful and fun place. So it's really awesome to
well,
talk to you.
I appreciate the compliment very much. Thank
And
you.
yeah, and make sure to email me because I would love to
Yeah,
connect you to some I would love to
I'm
connect you to some
I'm
more.
gonna copy it again just to make sure I didn't lose it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be putting this video online in like 10 minutes, so it'll
Okay.
be on here too. But I actually really want to connect you to the right resources to voice acting, because I
Okay.
think you actually have a very good chance at getting some paid work from that, like pretty quickly. So
Well, I definitely appreciate it. Thank you
yeah,
very much.
yeah,
And
dude,
I'll send you an email so that way we can connect.
cool, man. Okay, well, I'll talk to you soon, and stay safe out there. Okay,
And you as well.
all right, man. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Cool dude. Cool guy. Alabama. There's so many other things I wanted to talk about. I'd love to have him on again. I'm just very tired.